Okay, so you know that feeling, right? Like, uh, when your alarm goes off,
Yeah.
but you haven't even like really woken up yet,
Uh-huh.
but somehow you're already like scrolling on your phone.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Like it starts with maybe like a cute animal video,
Right.
and then next thing you know, like, I don't know, you're reading about like the history of like paper clips or something.
Uh-huh.
And then suddenly it's like you're watching a cooking tutorial and you're like, wait, how did I even get here?
Yeah, totally. It's like falling down a rabbit hole.
Totally. And it's funny because we kind of joke about it, right? Like, oh, I'm so addicted to my phone.
Mhm.
But like there's a part of us that's like, wait, am I actually addicted to my phone?
Yeah, it's like we pretend we're in control.
Right.
But
But are we really?
is it really more like
It's almost like this weird, like toxic ex,
huh?
you know? Like you love it,
Uh-huh.
but it also kind of like causes you pain.
Right. Like it's not good for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you just keep going back.
You just can't help yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for this deep dive,
Yeah.
we wanted to like really examine this.
This whole relationship with social media.
Right. Like, why do we do this to ourselves?
And like what's the impact, you know?
So we dove into a bunch of research articles,
Mhm.
like from psychology journals.
We looked at some tech blogs.
Yeah. We even found some pretty interesting sociological studies.
Totally. And even some personal accounts from people.
Right. Like
Yeah.
people who've experienced the good,
And the bad.
the good, the bad, and the ugly of social media.
Exactly.
So basically we're trying to figure out,
Yeah.
like, how did we get here?
How did we end up in this like constant scroll?
Right. And like, is there any way out?
Or like how do we at least
Manage it?
manage it a little bit better?
Right? Like, is it possible to like have a healthy relationship with social media?
That's the $1,000,000 question.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that really struck me
Uh-huh.
when we were going through all this research was like,
Yeah.
we've almost been like conditioned to feel incomplete
Yeah.
without social media.
Like we need it to like fill some kind of void.
Right. It's like we wake up and we instantly need that hit of like validation. Like, what's everyone doing? What am I missing out on?
Like what are the memes today? What's the drama?
The drama. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like we forget there's a whole world happening outside of our phones.
Totally. Like, remember the sky and trees?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things exist.
They still exist.
They do. They do. So we're going to get into all of that.
Absolutely.
But I think like one of the first things we need to talk about is this whole idea of like,
Documentation.
yes, the documentation of like every single moment.
Right. Like everything needs to be like
Instagram,
tweeted,
Facebook,
YouTube,
TikTok.
TikTok. Like the list goes on and on.
It does. It's like every cup of coffee needs the perfect filter.
Every meal needs to be artfully arranged.
Right. Like, look at my avocado toast.
Hashtag blessed. Hashtag foodie.
Exactly. But it's not just the food, right?
Yeah.
Like our thoughts, our opinions,
Vacations or workouts.
every like little thing needs to be shared.
And validated by the masses.
Right. Like it's not real unless it's online.
I mean, is it even real if you don't post about it?
Right. Like, did it even happen?
Exactly.
And then it's like this whole thing where social media
It's
becomes
like a second home.
totally.
Yeah.
It's like this virtual space where we spend hours and hours.
And then you look up and you're like, wait, it's dark outside.
Right. Like, when did that happen? I
Yeah.
was just watching TikToks of like people making miniature furniture.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is. It really is. And I think like another part of this whole thing is this like unspoken rule
Yeah.
that we have to be posting constantly.
Like you can't just disappear.
Right. Like if you don't post for a while,
You'd be forgotten.
you're irrelevant.
Like you cease to exist in the digital world.
It's like this pressure to perform,
Right. Like you're always on stage.
always on stage. And it's exhausting.
It-
It really is. So I think like a good analogy for this whole thing is like social media is like this all you can eat buffet.
I like that.
Right. Like you go there,
And there's just so much food.
endless options.
And you're like, oh, I'll just try a little bit of this.
And a little bit of that.
And then you're like, oh, maybe just one more plate.
And then you're stuffed.
You're so full
But you keep eating
because it's there.
because it's free.
It's endless.
Exactly. And that's kind of what social media is like.
It is. It's like we're constantly consuming.
Even when we're not hungry.
Even when we're not actually enjoying it.
Right. Like we're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
Out of habit.
Out of boredom.
Out of fear of missing out.
FOMO. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we will.
But it's like we're trapped in this game.
Of keeping up.
Of keeping up.
Of staying relevant.
Of proving our worth.
And it's like, the more you try to avoid it,
the deeper you fall in.
It really is. And so I think like the first step in all of this
is just like recognizing that this is happening.
Right. Like becoming aware of your own habits.
Exactly. Like how much time are you actually spending on social media?
And like how is it making you feel?
Are you actually enjoying
Or are you just mindlessly scrolling?
Right. Like is it adding to your life or is it taking away from it?
Those are really important questions to ask.
They are. And it's not easy.
It's not.
Because like we said, it's like this addiction.
Like trying to quit smoking.
Or like sugar.
Or caffeine.
Right. Like it's hard.
But it's possible.
It is. And we're going to talk about some strategies for like actually doing that.
Absolutely.
But first, let's talk about like some of the specific things that are fueling this whole social media frenzy.
Okay. So let's talk about notifications.
Notifications. Ugh.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
They really are the worst. Like, remember when phones didn't used to, like, buzz all the time?
Oh, yeah, like back in the dark ages.
I know, right? Like, when you actually had to, like...
call someone to talk to them?
Or, like, check your email on a computer.
I know, it's crazy.
It's a whole different world.
It is. But now it's like our phones are these little...
needy friends
that are constantly like, hey, look at me, something new.
Pay attention to me.
Right. And it's like this constant battle in our heads.
Yeah.
Like, do I ignore it or do I check it?
Because what if it's important?
What if it's important? What if I'm missing out?
But then you check it.
And it's like a notification that your aunt liked your photo from 3 years ago.
Or like a sale on shoes you'd never wear.
Right. It's like, why am I even letting this control my life?
It's true, though. Like, these notifications...
we really do control us.
They do. They're like these little puppet masters.
Pulling our strings.
Yeah, like making us dance to their tune.
And the crazy thing is, like, we're actually attached to these little pop-up boxes.
Right. Like, we get a little hit of dopamine.
Every time one pops up.
Even if it's for, like, an app we never use.
Or a message from someone we don't even know.
We've got mail!
And you're like, who is this Karen? I don't know many Karens.
Yeah, but you still gotta check it.
You gotta check it.
Right.
Because what if it's something important?
What if it's like the winning lottery numbers?
Or like a message from your long-lost twin.
Right. Your mind just starts racing.
It does. And that's the thing about notifications.
How is it?
It's like they're these little cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Like they create this need to know what's next.
Even if it's totally mundane.
Right. Like someone posted a picture of their breakfast.
You gotta see those scrambled eggs.
You gotta see them. But here's the thing.
What's that?
Most notifications are completely insignificant.
It'd be pointless.
They're just designed to keep us hooked.
On your phones.
On the app.
On the platforms.
Right. Like it's all about engagement.
Keeping us scrolling.
Keeping us clicking.
Keeping us coming back for more.
And it's working. It's working really well.
It is. It really is. So it's like we're constantly being bombarded.
By these little demands for our attention. It's like having 5 people screaming at you at once.
And you're trying to like have a conversation.
But you can't focus.
Because the screaming is so loud.
Right. And you're worried that if you don't pay attention, you'll miss something important.
Like what if your best friend is getting married?
And you miss the invitation because you were too busy watching TikTok videos.
Oh, the horror.
The horror. So notifications have really evolved.
They have.
Like they've gone from just being like little reminders to basically being our digital babysitters.
Right. Like telling us when to eat.
When to sleep. When to play games.
When to check the news.
When to take a break from our phones.
The irony.
The irony. It's like our phones are trying to save us from themselves.
It's true, though. Like, they know they have this power over us.
They do. And it's scary.
It is. Because it's like, how do you escape something?
That's always with you.
That you carry in your pocket.
That you sleep next to.
It's tough.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about some ways to manage it.
We are promised.
But first, let's talk about this whole phenomenon
Oh, yeah.
of scroll culture.
The scroll.
The endless scroll.
It's like a black hole.
It is. You just get sucked in.
And you lose all track of time.
Hours can go by.
And you're just like
Mindlessly
through this
spinning
feed of like,
random content.
yeah, like cat videos,
Cooking tutorials, political rants,
celebrity gossip,
memes.
so many memes.
It's endless.
It is. And the thing is,
What is it?
you're not even really looking for anything specific
Right. You're not like searching for information.
or trying to learn something new.
You're just scrolling.
Just scrolling for no reason.
Your brain is on autopilot
just absorbing all this information.
that you'll probably forget in 5 minutes.
It's like our phones have become these fast food restaurants for our attention.
I like that analogy.
Right. Like we're just consuming these empty calories of information,
That don't actually nourish us
but they keep us coming back for more.
because it's easy.
Easy.
It's always available, and it fills that void.
That we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. So we scroll and scroll and scroll.
We're not even really sure why.
But it's like we can't stop.
It's like this weird trance.
It is. It's
Yeah.
like we're all collectively hypnotized
Why our phones?
by the algorithms.
By the promise of something interesting.
Or funny.
Or shocking.
But most of the time, it's just like,
Mm.
right. Like you scroll through all this stuff.
And you're like, okay.
That was something.
But I don't really care.
And I don't remember what I just saw.
Yeah, it's like this bizarre game show.
Where the prizes are like fleeting moments of entertainment.
And the contestants are like our brains.
And the host is like the algorithm.
Saying, come on, folks, spin the wheel. You might win something amazing.
Or you might just get another cat video.
Haha. Exactly.
But we keep spinning,
We keep scrolling.
hoping for that dopamine hit.
That little burst of pleasure,
But it's never enough.
it never is.
So we just keep going and going and going.
Until our thumbs are sore.
And our brains are fried.
And we've wasted another hour.
Of our lives.
That we'll never get back.
Right. But the crazy thing is,
What is it?
we know we're doing it
Yeah. Like we're aware of it,
on some level.
but we can't seem to stop.
It's like this weird self-sabotage.
It is. And it's because these platforms are designed to be addictive.
Right. Like they're engineered to keep us engaged,
To keep us scrolling.
to keep us coming back for more.
And it's working.
It's working really well.
So we need to be aware of that.
We do. We need to be mindful of our own habits.
And we need to be intentional about how we use these platforms.
Exactly. Because like we said,
Social media is a tool.
and like any tool,
It can be used for good or for bad.
it's up to us to decide how we want to use it.
And that's what we're going to talk about next.
So stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
All right, so we've talked about like the general problem.
Right, like this whole social media thing.
Yeah, this like obsession with our phones.
The endless scroll.
The constant notification.
But now let's get a little more specific.
All right, let's do it.
So one thing we wanted to talk about
Mm-hmm.
is this whole world of social media influencers.
Oh, yeah. The influencers
These are the people who have like,
turn their lives into content.
exactly, like they're basically professional sharers.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and they're making a killing.
They are. I
Yes.
mean, you see these people with like millions of followers.
And they're getting paid to like
Eat food,
travel the world.
wear clothes.
It's crazy.
It is. And like, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you can make a living,
By posting pictures of your breakfast.
more power to you.
Exactly.
But it's also like kind of weird.
It is like, how did we get here?
Right. Like when did it become normal to like
Film yourself brushing your teeth.
and have millions of people watch it?
It's a strange world.
It is. But I think what's really interesting about influencers
Mm.
is like how good they are.
It making the mundane seem exciting.
Exactly. Like they can take something as simple as like
Making a salad.
and turn it into this like
Cinematic masterpiece.
right, like with the perfect lighting,
The perfect music.
the perfect ingredients,
And suddenly everyone's like, I need to make that salad.
and buy that salad spinner
And that fancy olive oil.
and that special knife.
They probably don't even need.
Right, like it's all about creating this desire
For a lifestyle.
for products.
For experiences.
And they're really good at it.
They are. They've mastered the art of the sell.
And it's not just like subtle product placement anymore.
Yep.
It's like full-on sponsorships.
Every post is a commercial.
Every story is an ad.
It's like, hey guys, I'm just here.
Drinking my morning coffee.
Brought to you by Starbucks.
Wearing my new workout gear.
From Lululemon.
Walking my dog.
Sponsored by Chewy.
Like, it's never ending.
It's exhausting.
It is. But it's also kind of brilliant.
I know, right? Like they've figured out how to monetize their lives.
In a way that most of us can only dream of.
And people are buying it.
They are. They're subscribing to these lifestyles. They're buying these products.
They're following these influencers.
And it's not just about material things anymore.
Right.
It's about, like, well-being, self-improvement.
Mindfulness.
You see all these influencers selling courses.
On how to be happy.
On how to be successful.
On how to, like, manifest your dreams.
And it's all very, like...
aesthetically pleasing.
Right. Like, lots of pictures of people doing yoga on the beach.
And, like, meditating in the mountains.
And they're all, like, glowing.
And they have perfect skin.
And they're just, like, radiating positivity.
And it's like, sign me up.
Right.
But it's also, like, kind of misleading.
It is, because real life isn't always like that.
It's not. It's messy.
It's complicated.
It's challenging.
And it's okay to not be perfect.
Exactly. So I think it's important to, like...
take everything you see online.
with a grain of salt.
Especially when it comes to influencers.
Right. Like they're selling a product.
They're selling a lifestyle.
And it's not always real.
It's often very carefully curated.
And filtered.
And to present this, like...
perfect image.
that doesn't actually exist.
So don't compare yourself to that.
Don't feel like you're not good enough.
Because you don't have the perfect house.
Or the perfect body.
Or the perfect life.
Because no one does.
Not even the influencers.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, one of the things that really fuels this whole...
obsession with perfection.
is this thing called FOMO.
The fear of missing out.
It's like a plague.
It really is. Like, it's everywhere.
And it's amplified by social media.
Because you're constantly seeing...
what everyone else is doing.
where they're going.
What they're eating.
What they're buying.
And it's like this constant reminder.
that you're not there.
That you're not doing that.
That you're missing out.
And it can be really tough.
It can.
Because even if you're happy...
with your own life.
with your own plan...
you still get this, like...
little pang of jealousy.
or like this feeling of inadequacy.
Like you're not doing enough.
You're not living your life to the fullest.
And it's like this constant pressure
to keep up.
to do more.
To be more.
And it's exhausting.
It really is.
So I think it's important to, like...
recognize that FOMO is a thing.
it is. It's real.
And it's okay to feel it.
But it's also important to, like...
not let it control you.
right. Like, don't let it dictate your choices.
Or your happiness.
Because the truth is...
what is it?
you're never going to do everything.
You're never going to see everything.
You're never going to experience everything.
That's okay.
It is. It's like you have to choose...
what's important to you.
and focus on that.
And let go of the rest.
Because otherwise you'll just be chasing this, like...
illusion of happiness.
that doesn't actually exist.
It's like a mirage.
It is. It looks real.
But when you get closer,
It disappears.
so don't waste your time chasing it.
Focus on the real stuff.
It's stuff that matters.
The stuff that brings you joy.
And let go of the FOMO.
It's not worth it.
It really isn't.
Now let's talk about
The algorithm.
the algorithm
This mysterious force.
that seems to control our lives.
At least our online lives.
It's like this invisible hand
That's always guiding us.
showing us what to watch,
What to read.
what to buy.
What to think.
It's a little creepy.
It is. It's like it knows us better than we know ourselves.
Right. Like, how does it know that I was just thinking about buying a new pair of shoes?
And then suddenly my feed is full of shoe ads.
It's like magic.
It's not magic.
It's the algorithm.
It's constantly collecting data on us.
tracking our every move,
Our every click.
our every,
Like our every share.
and it's using that data,
To personalize our experience.
but not necessarily in a good way.
Right, because the algorithm's primary goal,
Is not to make us happy.
it's not to make us informed.
It's not to connect us with others.
Its goal is to keep us engaged.
To keep us scrolling.
To keep us clicking.
To keep us coming back for more.
And it's doing a really good job.
It is. It's like it's figured out the formula
For human addiction.
for keeping us hooked
On our phones.
on social media.
On the endless stream of content.
So we need to be aware of that.
We do. We need to understand how the algorithm works.
And we need to be intentional about how we interact with it.
Because otherwise it will control us.
It will dictate what we see,
What we think.
what we believe.
And that's not good.
It's not. So let's talk about some ways to fight back against the algorithm.
To take back control.
To reclaim our attention.
So one thing you can do
is be more mindful
about what you're clicking on.
What you're liking.
What you're sharing.
Because the algorithm is watching.
It's always learning.
So if you keep clicking on cat videos,
you're going to see more cat videos.
If you keep liking posts about conspiracy theories,
you're going to see more conspiracy theories.
So be mindful of your own behavior.
And try to curate your own feed.
By intentionally engaging with content.
That you actually care about.
That aligns with your values.
That makes you feel good.
And another thing you can do
is use the tools that are available to you.
Right, like the mute button.
The unfollow button.
The block button.
These are your weapons.
In the fight against the algorithm.
So don't be afraid to use them.
If you see something that's triggering.
Or annoying.
Or just not interesting to you.
Mute it.
Unfollow it.
Block it.
Take back control of your feed.
And your sanity.
Because you deserve to see content.
That you actually enjoy.
That makes you feel good.
That adds value to your life.
And not just stuff that the algorithm thinks you want to see.
Right. Because you're not a robot.
You're a human being.
With your own thoughts.
Your own feelings.
Your own preferences.
So don't let the algorithm dictate your experience.
Take control.
And curate your own digital world.
You got this.
All right, so we've talked about the dark side of social media.
The addiction.
The algorithm.
But now let's talk about some solutions.
Some ways to detox.
To reclaim our attention.
To find some peace.
In this crazy digital world.
So one thing you can do.
Is take a break.
From social media.
Like a full-on detox.
Delete the apps.
Put your phone away. And just disconnect.
For a while.
Even if it's just for a day.
Or a weekend.
Or a week.
Whatever you can manage.
Because even a short break.
Could make a huge difference.
You'll be amazed at how much you can get done. When you're not constantly checking your phone.
You'll have more time for
reading.
Spending time with loved ones.
Going for walks.
The cooking.
Creating.
The living.
Exactly. And you'll probably also notice.
That you feel less anxious.
Less stressed.
Less overwhelmed.
Because you're not constantly bombarded.
With information.
With other people's lives.
And you'll start to appreciate.
The simple things.
The beauty of the world around you.
The joy of human connection.
And you'll realize.
That you don't need social media.
To be happy.
To be fulfilled.
To be you.
So take a break.
Disconnect.
Reconnect with yourself.
And with the world around you.
And see how it feels.
You might be surprised.
At how much you enjoy it.
Now I know what you're thinking.
What's that?
You're thinking, that sounds great in theory.
But I could never do that.
Right. I need social media for my job.
I need it to stay connected with friends and family.
I need it for my business.
And that's totally valid.
It is. Social media is a part of our lives.
It's not going away anytime soon.
But that doesn't mean we have to let it control us.
Right. We can still use it.
But we can use it on our own terms.
We can set boundaries.
We can be intentional.
We can be mindful.
So maybe you don't need to do a full-on detox.
Maybe you just need to
limit your screen time.
Turn off notifications.
Unfollow accounts that don't bring you joy.
Mute people who are constantly posting annoying stuff.
Whatever works for you.
It's about finding that balance.
Between being connected.
And being present.
Between being informed.
And being overwhelmed.
Between using social media as a tool.
And letting it use you.
So as we wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah.
I just want to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Social media can be a powerful tool. It can connect us with others.
It can inform us.
It can entertain us.
It can even inspire us.
But it can also be addictive.
It can be overwhelming.
It can be harmful.
If we let it.
So it's up to us to decide.
How we want to use it.
Whether we want to let it control us.
Or whether we want to control it.
Because ultimately.
It's our choice.
We have the power.
To create a healthy relationship.
With social media. Expert speaker.